The anticipated white smoke finally emerged in the sky, and the fate of over 1 billion souls in the Church was decided by 133 men behind closed doors. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you're new here, this is where we unravel global mysteries, historical power shifts, and the real stories behind headlines. Today, we're diving into one of the most secretive and powerful events on Earth, the election of a new pope in the Catholic Church. But this isn't just about religion. It's about politics, legacy, resistance, and the future of one of the oldest institutions in the world. About a fortnight ago, the world waited with uncertainty as 133 cardinals embarked on a conclave to elect a successor for Pope Francis, who passed away on April 21, 2025, at the age of 88 years. Uncertainty is the word, because the man they sought to replace was a disruptor. Pope Francis shook the foundations of the Catholic Church. Nonetheless, tributes poured in from around the globe following his death. Over 300,000 people in East Timor alone attended a mass in his honor. His funeral in St. Peter's Square drew crowds that wouldn't stop clapping for his message, his mission, and his memory. But inside the Vatican, there was tension. Serious tension. Before we go further, let us quickly highlight why Pope Francis' 12-year papacy was so controversial. What was at stake during the conclave? And how the battle between unity and diversity could decide the fate of Catholicism as we know it. When Pope Francis took the helm of the Catholic Church, he didn't just walk into the Vatican, he marched in there with a mission. And not just any mission. He wanted a poor church for the poor. He reimagined what it meant to be Catholic in a fractured, modern world. He embraced LGBTQ members, called for communion access for divorced and remarried Catholics, and spoke out loudly against environmental destruction and economic inequalities. Francis wasn't playing by the traditional rulebook. He even dared to open conversations upholding the role of women in church leadership, a topic many in the Vatican considered off-limits. With every move he made toward reform, the pushback got louder. Conservative Catholic groups were outraged. Some bishops silently resisted. And in the background, a fault line was forming. A divide that ended up at the heart of the just-concluded papal election. Behind the grand walls and iconic artwork of the Sistine Chapel, 133 cardinals embarked on the conclave, the secretive process of electing a new pope. And the decision they arrived at was not just about continuity. It was about whether the Church would continue evolving or slam the brakes. Two visions clashed in the heart of Rome. On one side were cardinals pushing for diversity and reform. They believed Pope Francis started something necessary, a shift toward openness, inclusion, and global representation. For them, the Church must move forward or risk becoming irrelevant. On the other side of the divide were cardinals calling for unity, a return to what they saw as the Church's roots. To them, Francis was too disruptive, too radical, too divisive. So now we ask, what is unity and what is it really code for? To some, it means avoiding scandal. Others think it's a cover for pushing the Church back into tradition, silence, and uniformity. Cardinal Gerhard Müller, a fierce critic of Francis, once said, "All dictators are dividing." That's how he saw the late Pope's leadership. But most cardinals didn't agree with that level of criticism. Many appreciated Francis' passion for the marginalized, even if they didn't always love his methods. Still, enough voices rallied around the call for unity, and that created a fierce debate behind those Vatican doors. Typically, the unity fashion of delivering homily fails to engage the congregation. The preacher basically speaks in monotone, could read solely from his notes, and, in essence, does not connect with the audience. That's a stark contrast to the diversity style typified by Francis, who could speak off the cuff, joke with teenagers, and make even the most skeptical listener feel heard. Here's where things got really interesting, though. Pope Francis had reshaped the College of Cardinals in ways no pope before him ever did. He appointed cardinals from regions that had never had one before, from Africa to Asia to Latin America. These cardinals from the peripheries had a different perspective. They weren't as tied to old European traditions as most other cardinals, especially those of the Unity camp. They saw the Church's mission in terms of real-world impact, viz., peace, poverty, alleviation, education, justice, etc. Cardinal Charles Bo from Myanmar said the next pope must pursue peace without pause and be a new breath of hope. That was the heartbeat of Pope Francis' vision. He envisioned theology alongside transformation, and not in isolation. So, in choosing an ideal pope, what are the guidelines that cardinals typically follow? Here are a few that we know. First off, you can't campaign to be pope. In fact, if you try too hard, you basically eliminate yourself from the race. Secondly, cardinals are expected to vote based on prayer, discernment, and what they believe to be the will of God. But let's be real, this is still politics. Then, every morning during the conclave, the cardinals meet in a synod hall for general congregations. And every evening, many of them go out to dine and wine. So discussions happen over dinner as well, not just in sacred spaces. And in so doing, alliances are formed, ideas are floated, and power shifts quietly from one corner of the globe to another. For this particular conclave, the cardinals had to wear name tags because so many of them had never met. The body that voted on the new pope was global, diverse, and unfamiliar with each other in a way we've never seen before. And that made the outcome harder to predict than ever. But now, the results are in. On Thursday, May 8, 2025, Robert Francis Prevost, a cardinal from Chicago, USA, emerged as the new pope, taking the name Pope Leo XIV. He becomes the 267th pope of the Catholic Church, and the first ever from America. Leo's own politics are thought to be more moderate, yet no one can say for sure how he'll drive the Church. After he was announced as pope, he addressed the world in welcoming terms, saying, "We must seek together how to be a missionary church. A church that builds bridges, dialogues, always open to receive everyone." So here we are. The Church stands somewhat uncertain. Will Pope Leo XIV continue the reforms of Francis? Will he dare to keep pushing for change, even when it's uncomfortable? Or will he choose caution, order, a slow return to what's familiar? The truth is, although Leo shows signs of a reformer, nobody really knows how he'll drive the Church. They say when a pope dies, the Church loses its shepherd. But maybe, just maybe, it gains a mirror. Because this conclave wasn't just about electing a leader. It was about who the Church is now and who it dares to become. So, the question remains, will Pope Leo XIV lead with the fire of reform or the comfort of tradition? And more importantly, which future are the people of the Church really praying for? If you found this topic intriguing, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Who do you think Pope Leo XIV will become? And should the Church evolve or retreat? I'll see you in the next one.